welcome back to 6 years later, a leftovers chat. I'm Ethan. I've seen the show a whole lot. I'm here with Benji, who has not seen the show, except for watching it with me. Took a little break. Wanted to come back fresh. Maybe some new audio issues are evened out. So we'll just get right into the leftovers, season 2, episode 4, Orange Sticker. At last we saw Standalone with Lori, Garvey, and Tommy, where at the end he decided to give everyone some Holy Wayne hugs. And I think we're getting right back into the story in Miracle, Texas. Before we start, I did want to make a correction. I said the GR Bros we spoke about last time were new to this episode. They were not. I don't know why it should shock anyone that I had the pilot of The Leftovers on again in the past couple of days. And Kevin was definitely kicked out of a GR house by some GR Bros in the pilot.
Yeah, now you mention it, I do recall that scene.
So I'm sorry to all the GR Bros out there if we neglected you. You've been here from the very beginning. So we're going to open up in Miracle, Texas. Nora is shaken awake by an earthquake and Kevin is gone. She tries to comfort Lily and checks in on Jill. Nora hurries downstairs looking for Kevin. She puts Lily in a box, calls Kevin, finds out from Erika that Evie didn't come home. She says she sees a dog run across the street, and it's apparent that she believes there's another departure has taken place and passes out. She wakes up and tries to find out if there was another departure. Kevin comes home covered in mud, and Nora's palpable relief is quickly replaced by bewildering anger as she takes the baby upstairs. Patti tells Kevin he has some explaining to do. And then we have the credits. I got some stuff on this. What do you got on the cold open?
First thing I noticed was I'm not a plumber, so I don't know if this is the right term, but the tap that was burst, there was something wrong with the tap. That was pretty clear. And there was water going in all directions. And yeah, I mean, it just kind of reinforced that theme of the water. We've seen a lot of water in Miracle, the holy water that they're selling, or not selling, but giving as souvenirs for donations. There was like the lake, and all the water from that is ran off somewhere. The water's gone there, and then they're having water troubles with this tap right at the beginning of the cold open, which also happens to coincide more or less with the timing of that freakish water event in the lake. So I am spotting some water stuff going on, but as of yet, I'm not really spotting any clear connections to be making of it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand that's pretty good. The couple things that I noticed were just kind of the way Nora does things when she's in a hurry. Like, it's kind of okay. I kind of believe that Jill might go right back to bed, but it was kind of like, oh, are you okay? Okay, I'm running downstairs. She didn't even give Jill the baby or anything. She came downstairs and put the baby in a box, which was kind of weird. No one puts baby in a box. But that's all I really had. She's obviously freaking out about, another departure.
Yeah, and she had a pretty sleek, nice little MacBook. So yet again, evidence that Apple is thriving despite the departure.
Yeah. No, it's definitely going down. So we have the credits. We have Let the Mystery Be. Kevin decides to take a shower while the ever-present Patti hangs out. He has lost his cigarettes and phone. He explains to Jill and Nora exactly what happened to him, and while he was sleepwalking, he woke up in a drain pond and hid from John and Michael. Nora immediately kicks into gear and tells Kevin it would be stupid to tell people the truth, as it's quite unbelievable. The Rangers come and ask Kevin to help with his truck. Patti's hanging out there, and it's interesting to me how Nora immediately, her brain goes into whether or not she believes Kevin protecting Kevin.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that Kevin told them exactly what happened, which isn't quite true. He leaves out the part about the cinder block tied to his leg, which I noticed because I was like, at first I was, oh, okay, new Kevin. This is the Kevin that tells them everything. But obviously that's a pretty big detail to leave out. And it's obviously it's a glaring omission, and it's one that we come back to later in the episode. Obviously, Kevin, he says he doesn't know why that was there, but the fact that he leaves it out means he must have some kind of idea of the connotations of that. Otherwise, he would be happily sharing like he is with this other stuff.
I think you're right, but I also, I totally missed that. And I found it surprising that he told him as much as he did. So maybe that's why I missed it.
You know? Yeah, and I mean, I was also pleasantly surprised by that. It wasn't the whole truth, but it was definitely a pretty big advance on what we might have got last season.
Okay, so after that, Nora and Kevin go and help in search of the missing girls at the scene of the scene of the disappearance is mobbed.
Yeah, which I think is definitely plays to the fact that this is Miracle, and it's supposedly this perfect town where nothing bad ever happens. And you imagine if this kind of thing happened in Mapleton, nobody's turning up, apart from maybe Dean, who seems to turn up everywhere, but not this number of people. So it kind of plays in that divide between what Kevin and Mapleton are used to versus what Miracle are used to. I did get the name right. It is Dean, right?
It is Dean, and we haven't seen him yet.
Yeah, I was just about to mention there's been a lack of Dean this season, which is definitely an element I'm hoping will change.
It's pretty sad. I don't know, maybe Dean's secondary departure. The scene of the disappearance is mobbed. They speak in hushed tones about what happened, and Nora is quick with the plan for Kevin to go back down just in case someone finds his phone. He can say he just lost it today, and she helps look for the girls. So Nora's really in crisis mode, and she gets talking about that a little bit later about what her job used to be. And, there's still a question in the air. Does she believe Kevin? And there's obvious tension between the two. And this is where Kevin notices his muddy palm print on the car. Kevin is distracted talking with the Rangers. And then John gets him to help with the search as Erika looks from a distance.
John's definitely, I noticed in this that the cops seem to be like deferring to John as if he is like the higher authority, even above the law enforcement.
And you gotta wonder how that came to be. You know what I mean? We haven't discussed that yet, but he does seem like the boss of the town, almost in a mafia type capacity. And, we have the scene where Nora is searching in the woods, and she enters this prayer circle with Matt, and they exchange like some worried glances, but she goes along with the search. And I took her look to be like, wow, I can't believe you're praying. I think the whole time she's worried about is the second departure. Jill and Lily go talk to Michael, and she ends up helping to fix the sink in their kitchen. Michael lets Jill know that he thinks his sister is no longer there, and that he's a very religious man, and Jill is obviously taken with Michael.
Yeah, and I noticed in this bit that, to my ears, when Jill is speaking, she doesn't sound like the Jill from season 1. She kind of sounds more like the Jill that we saw in the flashback episode. It's a pretty subtle difference, and I may be making it up, but it does seem the way she's delivering her lines, her mannerisms, and I mean, we've seen it in previous parts of the episode and in the last few episodes of season 2. Her actual voice, it is more like the Jill from pre-departure, I believe.
Well,
because obviously now,
she's
yeah,
happier, right?
Right, and I guess
together.
That's what happens when you're happier, your voice changes. Because season 1, she kind of had that dry, slightly depressed monotone going. So there's a clear difference, is what I'm saying here, and it's communicated in a few ways, but that's one of them. Even
yeah, I was watching that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was watching that pilot again, and she uses really like bad language, which I'm not going to be worried about. And she's definitely way more emo than she is right now.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just good stuff from Jill, right? Even in an event like this, which is obviously not, it may have been easier for her to slip back into those kind of ways when she thinks they're moving to this perfect town where it's safe, and then this happens, but she doesn't seem to have regressed yet, I don't think. And there's
also like you were chopping out a bunch there. But yeah, she's definitely vibing on Michael too, right?
Oh yeah, and there was that line, right, where what was it? She was the one, right, who said, "You don't make me feel uncomfortable." That definitely made me feel uncomfortable.
I think it made Michael feel uncomfortable too. I don't think he's down. He's not the DTF guy. I think. So during their search at the lake, John is told about the palm print, and the Rangers let people in to grab up as much of the miracle water as they still can. Then we get a gorgeous shot of Nora walking with the search party juxtaposed with all the dead fish. So long and thanks for all of it. Nora gives Kevin a flashlight and tells him to stay there and keep looking, all the while ignoring there's obviously friction between both of them.
Yeah. And I'm guessing the reason all those people kind of swarm the lake after the Rangers let them in, they're kind of trying to gather as much of that holy water as they can, right? Now that it's
because Dr. Goodhart was there in the first episode gathering up.
And actually, that makes me think what I said earlier about the people swarming this because an event like this with the girls disappearing is so rare for them. There's obviously more than just that at play here. People are here for the water too, not just for the search party. So I kind of missed that.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure there's people that are saying they're searching, but they're there for water, and I'm sure they've closed down the park and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not really sure where the lake is, if it's just outside of town or if it's just in town.
It's got to be close-ish if Kevin walked back.
Yeah, it's got to be close. You're right. No, I guess it's in town because they wouldn't be able to put the signs up unless people were residents there, right?
Yeah.
So at the local, this is a really interesting scene. At the local convenience store, Nora tries to buy cigarettes and alcohol, Oasis shout out, but is missing her wallet. A local man who approached Kevin at the Welcome Center and who prayed with Michael introduces himself as Virgil. He offers to pay for her purchases and apologizes to Nora for her loss.
Yeah.
So we meet Virgil here.
We meet Virgil. Don't we also meet for a second time the goat guy?
Jerry,
yeah.
From Parks and Rec, Jerry?
From Parks and Rec, the very same. Yeah, he was in that. I don't know what he was buying. Maybe knives, but...
Jerry Gergich.
Jerry.
That with Mike a little bit, and
you are.
It's very, very funny.
I'm trying to convince my brother to watch it.
All right, it's nighttime, and Kevin is still looking for his phone by the lake. What follows is an exchange, I guess you could call it that, as Kevin says nothing with Patti. She helps him find his phone, which is now dead, and wonders why he didn't tell Nora about the cinder block tied to his leg. Patti starts singing Never Gonna Give You Up and tells him not to get in that car.
And that is kind of crazy, right? That the implications from Patti being able to tell him where his phone is and Kevin not, right? So I'm going to try and explain this as it is in my mind, but so Kevin doesn't know where the phone is. He just doesn't know. Patti does know where the phone is because she leads him to it. So that seems to lend Patti a bit of objectivity because she knows things that Kevin himself doesn't know. And the only way she can know that is if she is in some way separate from Kevin. Unless, obviously, obviously we know Kevin has this thing where he's sleepwalking and he's been there and he may subconsciously know where it is, and that same part of his subconscious is the one that Patti resides in, and that's why she knows it's playing on that. But even so, it definitely raises questions like the fact that she's able to direct him to that. She is more than just his conscious mind because he doesn't have that knowledge in his conscious mind. Otherwise, he would have found the phone earlier.
I follow what you're saying. And it's a part of a discussion that we can actually have further in the episode as well. And,
right, yeah.
But there's also a couple things, like she knew the car was coming, but Kevin didn't seem to know the car was coming. So I guess, are you trying to say that Patti is a separate entity than Kevin?
Well, that definitely is one of the implications. The fact that she knows where the phone is and knows that the cars come in, stuff that Kevin doesn't know. If it's not in Kevin's mind, it's got to be in somebody else's mind, which suggests she is a mind independent. It did philosophy at A-level, and it's all those kind of terms bandying around. You know, you've got the objectivity of the mind independent, realism, what is, you know, all that stuff is interesting. Idealism, direct realism, indirect. There's a lot of stuff you could go into it on, but yeah, the fact that she knows stuff that Kevin apparently doesn't is a pretty big reveal.
Well, we're going to go, and I'm going to say this a lot, it goes back to my friend Albus Dumbledore, you know, just, you know, maybe it is happening in your head, but does that not make it real? You know? So what are the implications, in your point of view, if Patti is not in Kevin's head and she's not a voice in his head talking to him from his own mind?
Well, that's a pretty big deal, because apart from the departure itself, from what we've seen so far, there's no real indication that these guys are living in a world that has different rules than our own. As far as we know, this could be our world, with the one exception of the departure happened, and obviously that's a seemingly, you know, mysterious, unexplainable event. But we've seen, like, Holy Wayne, right? He could have had powers, but we end the season thinking, no, he didn't. He was just a fraud. The baby that Christine has, maybe it's special, maybe it's got powers. No, it's just a baby. So it's definitely, again and again, we're wondering, is there more to this world than it being a regular world? And it's like, no, it's not. Even with, like, Kevin's dad, are there actually voices he's hearing, or is he just crazy? Maybe he's just crazy. But if Patti is real in some way, and she's, like, independent of Kevin's mind, that sort of changes this game, because then they're living in a world that is not so similar to ours, because it's obeying different rules, and there's more supernatural stuff going on than just the departure. Because the way it has been so far, it's like, almost, how would our world that we live in react to the departure? But then when stuff like this happens, that sort of breaks those rules, and it's, as far as I know, it's not, like, I don't see Patti in my day-to-day life. I don't know if you do. Maybe you do, but
I do now. What do you think about Never Gonna Give You Up? You know,
oh yeah,
I'm sure you're familiar with its
yes,
term in pop culture, its place.
And that was a thing even when this came out. I mean, it's only a few years ago. Of course, and
obviously like an older meme by this time.
Right. Yeah.
Too, so.
Well, I mean, it never goes out of fashion. Yeah, I know what you mean. It sort of reached that stage in its life cycle where it's past the event.
And we can not, you know, we don't have to talk about it, sure, but this is a meme they put in the show.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it is. Well,
for a reason. There's hidden meaning here. There's meaning in everything.
Even if you don't look at it as a meme, the lyrics are Never Gonna Give You Up. We've seen Patti is pretty strong so far, telling Kevin that I'm not going to go away just because you're ignoring me. She's never going to give him up.
Right.
That was one way I
guess for me, it's so tied to that meme, that thing that the song is known for, that it's hard for me to see it another way. I mean, I hear what you're saying for sure.
And she says, I'm just recalling a couple more of the lyrics now. It's like, never gonna, I don't want to get this wrong, but I also don't want to sing it live. Never gonna, yeah. So it says at some point, never gonna say goodbye, right? That's one of the lyrics. Yeah. And obviously, Patti died in front of Kevin, but she still hasn't said goodbye to him. She's hanging around. I mean, the song is definitely one about. Understand? No, I think I understand. That was.
You do understand. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know. Okay. I don't know.
I'm gonna go.
I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't imagining we'd spend too long talking about the Rickroll, so I didn't really prepare that much for that.
Sadly mistaken. Just at the moment, John pulls up and insists Kevin come with him for a drive. John is drinking behind the wheel. They take an ominous drive through town where the Rangers warn him to keep careful as the tent city folks are on the edge because the park is closed. John questions Kevin's reasons for moving to town. We learn that John believes that there are no miracles in Miracle, and we learn that he is out to get Isaac because of the palm print. Patti points out to Kevin how lucky he is to have framed someone without even trying.
First of all, I was confused as to why Kevin even went up in the first place. I mean, John seemed to accept him being there. I mean, he was drunk. Maybe he wasn't thinking too hard about it, but Kevin, like, hanging around is definitely a pretty suspicious thing to be doing after everyone else is gone. So I'm not sure why Kevin was so ready to go up. Like, he didn't know it was going to be John. It could have been anyone, right? So I don't know about that, but
at that point, he's halfway up the ladder, right? And so the lights would have caught him, I think, anyway.
You're right. So it's better to own it rather than kind of further implicate himself.
The perfect story. You found your phone. It was bricked. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, John's discussion in the car is, I don't think it comes as too much of a surprise. We've seen his skepticism come into play in, like, even the first episode, when he burns down Isaac's house. That is the first episode, right?
Yeah, and he's full and menacing here too, and he's drinking again, and he's a scary man.
So I mean, it didn't come as a huge surprise, but it definitely solidifies his position. We know where he stands. When you mentioned about the palm print, when you say that, you're talking about when John went and got his palm print and Isaac said something bad was going to happen, and that's why John's going? Or also is it the fact that there was a palm print on the window and that's making John, that's like a callback in his mind to Isaac, like who's the guy that deals with palm prints? Well, it's Isaac, and he's also the guy who said something bad would happen. So the dots do seem to line up quite nicely.
Sure. Yeah, totally. And he's kind of has almost a police officer's philosophy, which is, 2 + 2 = 4, no matter, how you get there kind of thing. You know what I mean? Palm print, Isaac, palm print there, Isaac, period. Kevin lets John know he used to be a police officer and he should be the one to talk to Isaac. John agrees until we see that John lied about which room at the hotel Isaac is staying in.
Yeah, and initially I made a note that I was, like, surprised Kevin was even able to bring him, talk him down from this state. He's obviously drunk. He's very, very angry, and he's not. It didn't quite sit right with me that he was listening to Kevin's attempt to reason with him, which was an okay attempt, but I don't think it was the most convincing argument I've ever heard. So then when it looped back around and we saw that it wasn't, that was satisfying. It was just a nice bit of acknowledgement, right, from the writers. Like, this isn't, you can't just talk a guy like this down.
And I feel like the writers in the show also read everything that they write and then say, well, an audience member is going to say this, so we're going to answer that right now.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much precisely what happened.
Now, as Kevin walks to the room, Patti goes on about her ex-husband, Neil, and how she found out he was cheating on her. Now, this is where I have an audio clip.
Put some fucking originality into it, Neil. So I followed him to a motel just like this one. Sat in the car. I watched while he walked into the room, and I considered turning around and going back home. I was scared, Kevin. Scared that when I caught him, it'd be over. He would leave me. But I needed to see, to know. So, got out of my car, walked over to the room, and I took a peek. There was Neil, buck naked, and some woman. She had her shirt on. That was it. She was taking a shit on him, Kevin. A shit. I was married to that asshole for 17 years, and never once did he ask me to shit on him. Lori ever tell you about that? She was my shrink for a long time.
So
I always wondered whether that doctor-patient confidentiality thing was bullshit.
Kind of a lot to dissect here from what Patti's saying.
Yeah.
And another reason I played the audio clip is because I didn't, and Dowd says so perfect at this kind of thing that I'm not going to.
You delivering those lines here would not be a good idea, because then you have that audio clip of you floating around for people to chop up and use at their own digression, and it's not.
How would they get that? How would they get that, Benji?
Well, they're obviously subscribed to the channel. They've got their notification bell on,
okay.
and they're liking and commenting.
Oh, everyone's
Like you should be.
Oh, okay. Nice. Nice one. One of the things I really want to point out here is, or what really caught me, is what Patti is talking about is not she's not upset that she caught him cheating. She is, and it's not even that he caught someone doing that to him. It's that she wasn't asked by him.
Mm.
She wasn't thought enough in her husband's mind to let her in enough to share that information, that's what he liked. And that's what marriage kind of should be. You should be able to talk to your husband or wife and say, hey, this is the thing that I like, and maybe we can, I don't want to get too deep, but it's the hurt at not being asked.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying,
that to me.
Take your word for that. Well, I mean, I guess I didn't think about it that way, but they do say, right, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And that seems to be what this is, right? It's not even crossing his mind to ask her. She's not a player in that game.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought a lot about this audio clip, but not really in the sense of what it was saying, rather in the sense of what it implied. And again, like Patti being able to find the phone independent of Kevin, her kind of reeling off this stuff, it may be made up stuff coming from Kevin's mind, but, if it is real information about Patti's life, surely that stuff Kevin couldn't have known. And if that stuff Kevin couldn't have known, that can only come from, a mind that's external and independent to his own, who has that information. The only possible caveat is if, as Patti questions, Laurie has shared that information with Kevin, and so he has that knowledge in the back of his mind, and it's resurfacing in this form. But even then, she goes into, a fair amount of detail that I just can't imagine Kevin knowing that stuff, which again is definitely one to put on the tally for Patti is independent of Kevin, and that isn't just in his mind. But it still leaves the possibility open that it could be, which is the difficult part.
Yeah, for sure. And so at that point, Kevin realizes he was lied to, and John is at Isaac's room where he gets shot. As they leave Isaac's, Isaac says to Kevin, there ain't nothing more dangerous than a man who don't believe in nothing. Makes sense for here, right? John doesn't seem to be a believer in any kind of religion or any kind of spirituality or anything, especially in the place where he lives, where everybody thinks that something special happened.
Well, I mean, on that note, what does Kevin believe in?
We could get to that at the end, because I think he answers that, or he tries to, Nora and Jill have some wild turkey, and they discuss Kevin's sleepwalking. Jill says that no matter where you go, there you are. When Jill tells Nora that Michael thinks his sister has departed, Nora then goes on about her former career in the secondary departures branch of the DSD. She tells the story of a couple whose husband faked his own departure. Nora firmly believes there is no such thing as secondary departures, and the original incident was a one-time only event. So this is an interesting conversation, and I highlighted no matter where you go, there you are, because that speaks directly to episode 2 and the title of episode 2. It's a matter of geography, right? So that works on 2 levels. That works on Miracle, Texas, being where it is, and I guess maybe by this lake, or Nora, where she was and where she is. And at MIT wanted to buy her house to study where geographically her house was, because 3 people departed right at the kitchen table, even though she was at the counter. But that's also a mind state of like, you can't, there's no geographical solution to a psychological problem.
Yeah.
So if you got a problem with your mind and you're like, I need to get out of here, these people are driving me crazy, I'm going to move to Alaska, and you move to Alaska, you took your brain with you.
It's not like you change when you travel, which, even though it sounds stupid for us to assume that would happen, I do think we do think that sometimes, like, oh, if we go there, we're going to be a different person. But it's like you get there and you're like, oh, wait, no, I'm just the same person. And I guess that's could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on who you are. No, it's good. There was another element to this conversation that intrigued me, which was Nora's kind of I mean, she was pretty adamant that there was no such thing as second departures. This was a one-time event. That seemed to kind of contradict a little bit of her action so far. One of the main drivers to her moving to Miracle, Texas was because she was kind of scared by the guy who investigated the house, saying, maybe there's going to be a recurrence. That's obviously been playing on her mind. That's part of the reason she's gone to Miracle. And also when she wakes up and Kevin's not there and she's so frightened and did it happen again? Did it happen again? She's like genuinely afraid of that. But then here she's like, nah, no way there's going to be a second departure. Like, that just doesn't happen. That kind of contradicts what she was doing, like the way she was reacting in the beginning. So
are you saying that on some level Nora Durst is a contradictory character?
Yeah, and I guess that's not such a bold statement to put out, but seems to be, yeah.
And the thing with the secondary departures is, when I first heard about them when I was watching the show, I always thought, based on what the creator said, which you shouldn't go by, you need to go by what's on the screen, and based on what you know about the show, now they have this whole secondary departure branch of the DSD. It always sounded like BS to me because people are just using it as an excuse so now no matter what, random people can disappear all the time, and people are using that as an excuse to disappear in their life. I'm kind of siding with Nora on this one as far as what she's saying, not what she's feeling. Of course, as a logical person, I think that's the way it would be, but maybe it would be totally different if 3 of my family members disappeared right in front of me. And more important than we believe him, his sister believes him. Right? She would.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess it hadn't occurred to me, but the only reason Matt would lie about that is to compare his sister. But that can't be the case because he was trying to tell this story even before Nora arrived in Miracle. It's not like he just made this up on the spot. This is something that we've seen him try and tell before. So yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see where that goes. And
did you have anything on Erika and Kevin talking at the clinic?
Yeah. Just before that, there was a bit about Jill, which was that her hugging Michael. We've seen the significance of hugs over this series so far. We've had the Holy Wayne hugs. Now we've had Tommy started distributing his own hugs and cult of hugs, and now Jill's hugging Michael. This is obviously a more just, connecting emotionally. There's no kind of...
Can we start a cult of hugs? That sounds like a good cult.
Yeah, it's definitely not the worst one. I'd rather be chain hugging than chain smoking at the GR.
Kool-Aid and hugs. That's what you call it. Yeah.
Yeah. The bit with Kevin and Erika at the clinic. So the wife obviously disagrees with John over miracles happening in Miracle. So if she disagrees...
Speech.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's like she's kind of she's heard it before. She doesn't agree with him. She's tired of it, whatever. So if she doesn't agree with him, I can't remember us hearing what she actually does think happened. Like,
she lays out the possibilities in this talk, right? So people are saying that something bad happened to her. She doesn't believe that. People are saying she's playing a joke on everyone and hanging out in the woods. She doesn't believe that. So does she think that there was a secondary departure? It's kind of hard to tell. She's just still in this just bewildered, my daughter is gone thing, which is not a thing. It sucks.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah. But the thing is, we saw that brief 2-second moment of the girls running through the woods in, I can't remember which episode, one of the early ones.
Like the first one.
But yeah, first one. So I don't believe they are gone. Based on that.
You mean when they were running naked through the woods?
Yeah, that's got to be after this event. That's not... They weren't doing this before, were they?
They showed that before.
Well, they showed it before, but I didn't know if it was it looked to me like it just came out of nowhere, like it was possibly a future event we were seeing. Maybe it wasn't.
I didn't read it like that. I read it as some weird activity that they were doing.
Well, I mean, that was why. I mean, it was such a weird activity. I was like, surely there's no reason they'd be doing this, like in the kind of environment they're in now. So the only reason they'd be doing this is if this is in a different like period of time, like later on when something has happened. Maybe not. I don't know.
Now I'm trying very hard not to bring in thoughts I've heard from too many other places into this because I want to be original. But there's only one thing that I've ever heard that made sense to me is that if they did do a fake disappearance, that they were spreading their scent around for search dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? But that's the only thing I heard because it's such a weird scene out of nowhere.
But that means it would be a flash forward in time because they don't do the fake disappearance. If it is a fake disappearance, that doesn't happen until a few episodes in. We see this in episode 1. So that would support it being like a segment from later on in the season. I don't know. It's an outlier, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it changes then, definitely, because I was under the impression that it was one of those, I was perhaps seeing it a bit too black and white, like, okay, that has to be the future. So it's one of those things that we're watching it, and as a viewer, we know more than the actors, and that's kind of the dynamic it's playing on, is that we know that they haven't disappeared, but the actors don't. But
this is the second time, wait, hold on a second. This is the second time you thought there's a flash forward in this show.
Yeah, no, I realized that when I said it as well. I was like, not this again.
I don't think there's flash forwards. I'm just going to say this blankly. I don't think there's flash forwards I don't think there's flash forwards.
In the season or just in the show?
I never know. I've never seen the show. Okay. I'm going to go on because
yeah, go on.
We got a big one coming up.
Yeah.
In the town square, Patti follows Kevin and talks about the Murphys and how they have real love. So now I have another audio clip. It's a long audio clip. It's about 3.5 minutes. This will be the last audio clip before the end.
That's real commitment. That's trust. That's love. Not like what you got. What you got, Kevin, isn't love. It's damage control. Your family blew up. Nora's family blew up. And now you're all just clinging on to each other because you need to cling on to something. That's why she bought the house. She didn't really care whether you wanted to or not. Her money, her choice. That must have been emasculating. And you, Jesus, if you loved them, you'd trust them enough to tell them about me. If you loved them, you wouldn't lie.
Shut the fuck up! I didn't tell them about you because you're not fucking here. I love my family. I love them.
Then why did you try to kill yourself?
What?
Come on. This isn't a big mystery. I was right there with you. You walked out of your house in the middle of the night and you found a rope and a cinder block, and then you tied it to your ankle and you threw it into a goddamn lake. Let's face it, Kevin, there are people who try to commit suicide for attention. And then there are people who really want to fucking die. Like me and you. I watched you do it. And you did not hesitate, my friend. Plunk. Right into the wet abyss. And if not for an act of divine intervention, you'd be gone. I'm sorry, Kevin, but these are not the actions of a man who loves his family.
I don't want to kill myself.
You're certainly entitled to your opinion. I'm just glad we finally talked about it. Oh, since you didn't seem to give a shit enough to ask me, I'll tell you. They vanished. The girls. Drove right by in their car, listened to their music, not a worry in the world, then poof, gone.
So I knew that was long. It's long because it's beautiful. It's one of the reasons why I love the show. The thing that struck me, besides how awesome Ann Dowd and Justin Theroux are together, the thing that struck me is she brings up the point about, her money, her decision with the house.
Mm-hmm.
And we see in the Garveys at their best when Lori and Patti are talking that one of the things that Neil did was kick her out of her own house. And she said to Lori, his house, his money, he paid for it. And Lori said it doesn't work that way.
Mm.
And I thought that was a big parallel to this scene. I'm sorry. I was going to recap that after she walks away, she sings Never Gonna Give You Up Again. And the whole exchange is witnessed by the guy in the tower. He says, who's your friend? What you got on that? Because that was meaty.
Yeah, I mean, where do you even start? Obviously, you have to give the nods to the actors who smash it in this scene. And it's weirdly satisfying to see Patti actually get to Kevin, get him to that point where he's talking to her. Even though we're on Kevin's side, it's like, the sooner we actually deal with this problem, the sooner we can move on from it, rather than just, ignoring it isn't going to move this plot line forward. So the fact that he's now interacted with her is definitely a step forward in where this is going to develop, which is exciting. But I mean, all that aside, it's like, maybe I'm just naive, but I hadn't seen the cinder block in that light before I watched this scene. And then obviously you listen to it say it and it suddenly seems so obvious. But it wasn't to me.
That he was trying to kill himself?
Yeah, and I was like,
okay.
Obviously the idea of a cinder block ties him. I was like, well, maybe someone else did it. Maybe Patti did it. Like, at no point did it cross my mind that he did it, which was
crazy.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, I just can't work out, is Patti like a reliable source of information? The thing is, we have seen, like, her telling him this now is, it feels like it's a lot more, or we can trust her more because she's already proven that she witnessed what happened, because she knows where the phone is. And if she knows where the phone is, that means she did watch it. So if she did watch it, maybe she's telling the truth and this is what happened. And the way she describes it, it sounds like she's telling the truth. So, but at the same time, like, this is a guy who's seeing this woman who killed herself and she's appearing to him and talking to him and following him around. He's not okay in the head. Like, this isn't as clear cut as she saw it, so she's telling the truth. Like, this whole thing is taking place in this weird state of, like, hallucination, maybe not hallucination because some other guy saw it. Like, there's just so many questions going on that it's really hard to get after, like, is she telling the truth or not? Because it's all wrapped up in this big mystery anyway. It's like a mystery within a mystery. And so
Right.
we don't know.
Not like season 1, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the other part as well is, like, is she lying about the cinder block? And also, is she lying about the girls vanishing? And I don't know, like, I can't think of her.
Well,
The thing that
cinder
gets
block
me-
was there.
yeah.
The cinder block was there.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And my question is about the girls. Is with Kevin's state and what he's going through,
Mhm.
does he give a shit about the girls? Like, are the girls even entering his mind?
Well, I mean, that's what Patty alludes to, right? Like, since you didn't ask,
Right.
here's where they are. But yeah, I don't know if she's lying about that or not, because that's obviously a big deal. If they did vanish, then that kind of proves the whole secondary departure hypothesis like an actual thing, and that's huge. Like, that is a game changer. So I don't know about that. But what I don't get is, what's in it for her lying? Like, I'm talking about it as if it's her, but it could still be Kevin at this point. But when I say her, I'm referring to Patty, whether it's Kevin's created version of Patty or some external version of Patty or whatever it is. When I say, like, I don't get the motivation for her to lie to him at this point. Like, what is she gaining? He doesn't even care. We've seen that he doesn't really care about what happened to the girls. I mean, I'm sure he does on some level, but on a deep level, he's not as bothered about that as he is about what's happening to him. He doesn't even ask about the girls. So it's not like her lying to him about the girls is going to have some big impact on him because it's not even crossed his mind yet. So there seems to be no motive for her to be lying about that. And we've seen that she has witnessed what happened because she tells him where the phone is. And it all kind of points to she is telling the truth. But at the same time, this is literally like Patty. And I don't want to take anything she says at face value. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. And, the guy in the tower seeing anything, longtime Harry Anderson associate Turk Pipkin in the tower, him seeing something, he could see Patty, he could see Kevin talking to someone.
yeah,
and so it doesn't matter either
yeah.
way. And I mean, I love the way Justin Theroux explodes with the frustration. And these are some of the things I love about Kevin Garvey. He calls bullshit when he thinks it's bullshit, even if it's an emotional man-child version of crying bullshit. You know what I mean? And, he insists his belief system is he wouldn't try to kill himself because he loves his family. So he's still clinging to this idea of family like he wished for at the end of season 1.
Yeah, and I guess this is one of the reasons we don't want to believe her. Because it's just like, why would you want to believe that Kevin is at that point, and you want to believe Kevin that he loves his family? And I don't know if she is lying, what game she's playing or he's playing or whoever this person is, what they're playing. There's just, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. There was another line where she was talking about Kevin and the cinder block, and she was saying, some people, for attention, some people just really want to die. And then that, for me, called back to Cairo, where she's saying, you do understand me. And she's kind of telling them that they're very similar, because she says in this part where she's saying some people like you and me just want to die. So again, she's kind of comparing both of them and saying, like, we are the same, we understand each other. I don't know, it's just another kind of angle on that.
And another reason to say that he ascribed to the guilty remnants way of thinking.
Yeah. I mean, is that the guilty? Yeah. Is that their way of thinking?
If it's Patty's, it's the guilty remnants, I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, it's a kind of nasty, I don't know. It's tough to watch, but you want to, like, you're hoping it's not the case. And so
yeah, you're hoping Kevin is being genuine in what he's saying.
Yeah, like, really hoping.
Really.
It was bad enough when we had one episode about Kevin. I don't know if I can go a season and a half about him, even though I have a feeling you won't. But
all right, well, we got to power through here. Kevin goes home to Nora to an amazing cover of "You're the One That I Want" from Grease.
Yeah.
Nora believes Kevin has nothing to do with the disappearance of the girls, but insists he wears handcuffs to bed because she can no longer wake up with him missing. And yeah,
I mean, that's smart. Like, I feel like they should have put that in place sooner. Like, she already knew he sleepwalked, so
what if he's got to pee?
I mean,
that's all I thought about.
Yeah, but it's a price I'd be willing to pay to have. Well, I'm not going to go there. Yeah, no, it's a smart idea, and I think it's worth it.
I think the answer there is a sleep doctor, not a handcuff to the bed.
Yeah, but I mean, these guys, like, where are they finding a sleep doctor?
Ewan McGregor, Dr. Sleep? No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Jill
Well, I
goes
mean,
outside.
it's a good short-term solution, I think. Definitely makes us feel a lot more safe about Kevin.
Okay. Jill goes outside because she hears a noise. She discovers that it's Michael scraping off his house's orange sticker. End of episode.
Yeah.
Anything about the orange sticker coming off? Michael thinks his sister departed. He's damn sure of it.
Yeah, clearly. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
I don't know.
It's quite an episode. I think. You were saying to me earlier you're not getting the feels like you were in season 1 yet.
Kind of. I mean, season 1 was just such a. I don't know. Like season 1 is just so cool when you first get into this world and it's all new to you and you're kind of establishing with the characters, and there's just a definite. I don't know. Maybe it's the location as well. I did like it being in Mapleton. I find it hard to describe, but there's that magic of discovering a new show that lends. I'm sure on rewatch, I'll enjoy season 2 as much as, if not more than season 1. But as a first-time viewer, it's hard to compete with that feeling of watching a show for the first time and discovering that show. And that's kind of like, it's a little unfair because it's got nothing to do with season 2 on a technical basis versus season 1. It's more about me and me watching it for the first time, and like season 1 was that connection. The only thing that rivals it really is when you discover a new show, and also when you finish a new show and you get that finale, and that's something you've been looking forward to, and you get that for the first time. So I'm sure that'll be coming up at some point in season 3, and I'm sure that's gonna hopefully bring it way back. And you know, maybe season 2, we still have like 6 episodes left. There's plenty of time, so it may well hit those emotional highs of season 1. It just doesn't quite have the same advantage of feeling like such a new show to be discovering. But I mean, it is, it's got new characters. It's a new location. It certainly has part of that. And the only
I mean, I really like season 2 because I feel like it is a new show again. Like I said, we're in a mystery now.
And I guess that's part of the thing that's sort of coming into play now with the girls disappearing, is like it's setting up this new mystery, and we get that, it's always, well, interesting is the obvious word, but it's interesting, it's intriguing, it gets us. The mistake I may have made is when I was thinking the girls weren't actually disappeared, and I was pretty sure about that because what I'd assumed was a flash forward, and I was waiting for that to be resolved, and like I was kind of under the impression that it wasn't really a mystery, like it was a mystery to them but not to us. But having spoke with you, that's definitely changed the way that I'm viewing it. So it is a bit more like that for me now.
So it's more mysterious as to what actually happened?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I like versus when I thought I knew what happened versus now when I don't. Obviously, it's more mysterious now. The only other part of season 3 that I'm a little bit, not season 3, sorry, season 2 that I'm a little bit still unsure on is the Tommy and Laurie storyline. Just because I found Laurie's storyline so compelling in season 1, and her acting and she just did such a good job of being a GR member that I'm really finding it hard to connect with her without that. And her and Kevin's dynamic is obviously not at the moment in play. They can't kind of riff on each other the way they could in season 1. So luckily that's only really been 1 episode out of 4 so far. But I'm looking forward to see if that one picks up a little bit.
Speaking for me who's seen the show, and it's probably speaking for people out there who have seen the show, I love hearing this. I love the fact that we're doing this. I love hearing your takes as someone who has seen the show for the first time. So I can't wait to continue to do this because of life. I think we're going to slow down a little bit, maybe 1 a week, just because really need to dissect things are getting hectic out in the real world. And I really like the idea of taking time to dissect one really good and making it sound nice for the people. Hopefully there weren't too many huge audio issues this time. I really need to go right now, so I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to say, if you're listening, thank you for listening. Like, share, subscribe. We we get a big bump whenever I put it on Reddit, but I don't want to junk that up too much. So maybe in another couple weeks, I'll put another post out there. Hey man, thanks again.
Yeah, cheers. This was a good one.